Good morning. It's so fun to hear all the energy and buzz. I haven't heard it so much for a while, so it's lovely. And welcome to everyone at home as well joining us this morning. Welcome to First Parish Unitarian Universalist of Chelmsford. We're a covenantal community gathered for worship, mutual care, faith formation through spiritual learning and ethical discernment, and in service to the common good. I'd like to extend a special welcome to anyone visiting us for the first time today, whether you are in the sanctuary or joining us from home. You can learn more about us or contact us via our website, uuchelmsford.org, or email dre@uuchelmsford.org. I'm Reverend Ellen Spiro, and I'm leading the service today with Steve Zaki, who will offer our chalice lighting and lead the covenant in addition to the wonderful music. Edith Murphy and Neil Harmon are our ushers, and they can help you with any questions you might have. And Aggie Brennan is running our live stream tech. Thank you, Aggie. Our worship services are multi-platform, which means there are people here in the sanctuary and there are people here at home. And if you're attending from home, Elliot Mayer is our online chat host, and you can join the online chat for our worship service via the YouTube link option on our website. If you are in the sanctuary, be aware that the service is being live streamed. You may be on TV, and it does get recorded and posted later. And Edith and Neil can help you with seating that's not in view of the camera. However you are joining us, though, I'm glad you're here, and I'd like to have a moment to say hello to each other. So to turn around and wave and say hello to the people watching at home, and people at home, say hello to us. So good morning, one and all. And finally, we will have social hour online after the service, which will be hosted today by Elliot Mayer, and we provide a Zoom link at the end of the service. We also have the vestry open for people to gather for socializing after the service, although we're not serving food and beverages at this time. And just so you're aware, after the postlude, the live stream does run for another couple minutes, so don't swear, okay, after the service. That's all I ask. Now we'll center ourselves.
Oh my God. Sorry about that. The chalice lighting today is 577 from Singing the Living Tradition. Some words from Gandhi that I know I could use. I should have turned to it before right now. It is possible to live in peace. If someone with courage and vision can rise to lead in nonviolent action, the winter of despair can, in the twinkling of an eye, be turned into the summer of hope. It is possible to live in peace. Nonviolence is not a garment to put on and off at will. Its seat is in the heart, and it must be an inseparable part of our being. It is possible to live in peace. Nonviolence, which is a quality of the heart, cannot come by an appeal to the brain. It is a plant of slow growth, growing imperceptibly but surely. It is possible to live in peace. If a single person achieves the highest kind of love, it may be sufficient to neutralize the hate of millions. It is possible to live in peace. If we are to reach real peace in this world, and if we are to carry on a real war against war, we shall have to begin with the children. It is possible to live in peace. The future depends on what we do in the present. It is possible to live in peace. Gandhi. Thank you. First Parish Covenant. We, the members of First Parish, sorry, forgot where I was. We, the members of First Parish of Chelmsford, covenant together to sustain and strengthen our beloved community by honoring and celebrating the spirit of life, nurturing all souls in our search for truth and the sacred, caring and being present to one another in our joys and sorrows, bearing witness through service to justice and peace, and being good stewards of our congregation, our heritage, our Unitarian Universalist principles, and our earth. Nosotros, los miembros de la primera parroquia de Chelmsford, convenimos juntos a sostener y fortalecer nuestra amada comunidad en honrando y celebrando el espíritu de la vida, nutriendo toda almas en búsqueda de la verdad y lo sagrado, cuidar y estar presentes al uno y otro en nuestras alegrías y tristezas, dar testimonio mediante servicio a la justicia y paz, y ser buenos cuidadores de nuestra congregación, nuestra herencia, nuestros principios unitarios universalistas y la tierra.
Thank you, Steve. Been using this offertory time for us to consider our gratitudes. And I was thinking today, we're getting that hint of spring, that March tease, where it's going to be a little bit warm, and the snow is going to melt, and of course, I know there'll be another snowstorm or two, but there is hope. And so I was thinking today, I would like to offer gratitude to our grounds team, our grounds crew, Martha Sherburne and her team of weeders and planters and mowers and gardeners who keep the grounds beautiful. And then I know in just a couple weeks, we're going to see the purples and the pinks and the yellows burst forth. So thank you to all of them. didn't want you to worry. And I'll take mine. Our ancient reading this morning is from 1 Kings chapter 19, verses 11 and 12 from the Hebrew Bible. It's from one of my favorite prophets, Elijah, who was feeling overwhelmed and cranky and tired, and so fled and hid in a cave. And then an angel came and said to Elijah, "Go forth and stand upon the mount before the Holy One." And behold, the Holy One passed by, and a great and strong wind rent the mountains and break it in pieces, the rocks, and break in pieces the rocks before the Holy One. But the Holy One was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake. But the Holy One was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, the Holy One was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice. Our modern reading is by Jan Richardson. Blessing when the world is ending. Look, the world is always ending somewhere. Somewhere the sun has come crashing down. Somewhere it has gone completely dark. Somewhere it has ended with the gun, the knife, the fist. Somewhere it has ended with the slammed door, the shattered hope. Somewhere it has ended with the utter quiet that follows the news from the phone, the television, the hospital room. Somewhere it has ended with a tenderness that will break your heart. But listen, this blessing means to be anything but morose. It has not come to cause despair. It is simply here because there is nothing a blessing is better suited for than an ending. Nothing cries out more for a blessing than when a world is falling apart. This blessing will not fix you, will not mend you, will not give you false comfort. It will not talk to you about one door opening as another closes. It will simply sit itself beside you among the shards and gently turn your face toward the direction from which the light will come, gathering itself about you as the world begins again. This month's Soul Matters theme is renewing faith. I imagine the whole idea of faith might be problematic for some of us who left other religions for Unitarian Universalism because we could not just have faith in some God or set of beliefs that didn't make sense, that didn't seem true. And given all that is happening in the world right now, I'm finding my faith challenged. My faith in humankind, my faith in the power of love to overcome fear, my faith that peace is possible, or that the moral arc of the universe is really bending towards justice. Renewing faith is a daunting prospect because we're living in some pretty traumatic times, and you know the list. A pandemic, political divisions, rising rates of hate crimes and dismantling of hard-won civil rights, a climate in crisis, and now an invasion in Ukraine that threatens to grow into something worse. With so much grief, loss, and change, and not knowing what will happen next, understandably, the anxiety level is very, very high. And here's the thing about anxiety. It can be contagious. It's one of those emotions that can take over a room and feed off itself. And anxiety can make people reactive, angry, scared, despairing, hopeless. It can cause us to lash out in unexpected ways as we try to reassert control over some aspect of our lives or protect ourselves from hurt and harm and loss, perceived or real. Anxiety can make us withdraw or deny or self-medicate in harmful ways. And because anxiety can be overwhelming, it can shape the whole narrative we use to make sense of the world around us, to make meaning of what is happening and therefore how we react. I want to be clear that in the face of trauma, it makes sense to feel anxious because I'm not dismissing the emotion itself. And I feel anxious a lot of the time right now. I worry. I worry about the health and well-being of my loved ones. I worry about this congregation. I worry about all of you. I worry about our country and our democracy. I worry about our planet. And what anxiety is doing, it's warning me, pay attention. Protect and care for what you love. And yet, at the same time, anxiety can also destroy these things if I allow it free rein. My faith is not grounded in anxiety and fear. It is grounded in the transforming power of love that I call God. It's grounded in gratitude for this life and this earth, if I can get myself back there. In November, I shared about the work of Lucy Hone, the director of the New Zealand Institute of Wellbeing and a research associate at Auckland University of Technology, and her work on grief and resilience. In 2014, she lost her daughter, her daughter's best friend, and the best friend's mother, who was also Lucy's dear friend, in a car accident. In the wake of this terrible loss, she found herself more overwhelmed than helped by some of the support she received from the grief counselors who were sent her way. She recognized that they were doing their best, and they were helpful in some ways. But she also found that what they told her about her grieving left her feeling despair, left her feeling hopeless, that she and her family would never recover, that her marriage and her family would fracture and fall apart, that her grief would not just be there for the rest of her life, but that it would stunt everything that happened next. She felt she was being told she would never know laughter or happiness or joy again. Lucy Hone knew that her life and her family's lives would never be the same, that Abby's death would be a part of them forever, and nothing would ever heal that loss. And eventually she could accept that part. She could accept that she would be sad and that she'd be angry and that she'd be exhausted and all the other emotions associated with grief, and that there was no getting over Abby's death. What she struggled with was the idea that only this loss and this despair and this helplessness lay before her and her family. As she noted, she was not just a mother to Abby, but also to her two other sons, and she owed being present to them as to her lost child. So she looked to her own research on resilience and recovery to help her and her family. I want to be very careful and clear to emphasize that neither Lucy Hone nor I are saying that grief is something that anyone should or get over, and that we should just power through and move on from loss and heartbreak and trauma. That is one of the most destructive myths of our culture. When grief and loss are not dealt with, when they are shut down and when they are diminished, that's when they can come out in really hurtful ways. Reactivity, anger, fear, anxiety. A lot of the things we're living with today. Which is why I think that Hone's work on cultivating resilience as a way to engage with loss and trauma and anxiety is important. She isn't telling people, get over it. She's offering practices around positive emotions to engage with grief and loss and trauma in ways that make them part of our lives rather than the only narrative through which we experience and understand the world. To renew our faith that we can lead meaningful lives, even with traumatic loss. Positive emotions that nurture resilience can help renew faith in ourselves, in our meaningful relationships, in life itself. In her book, Resilient Grieving, Hone found it helpful to cultivate practices around these particular positive emotions. She lists curiosity, pride, as in taking pride in our accomplishments or things like that, not pride as in arrogance. Awe, hope, inspiration, gratitude, serenity, humor, and love. As she described each one of these and how they helped her, I was struck by the fact that they're all emotions that connect us to something larger than ourselves, whether that be other people and a supportive community, or nature, the creation, or to our sacred source of being. For example, curiosity invites learning and gathering information from other people and the world and their experiences that can help us feel less isolated and let us know we're not crazy. Awe invites us to look up and around us, to wonder at the beauty of the creation and the vastness of the universe. Gratitude reminds us to acknowledge and honor the gifts and graces of our lives, to recognize what we have been given as well as what we've lost. Serenity invites us to seek moments of calm, of stillness as a way to center ourselves and nurture our spirits, to hear that still, small voice. And then there's love. Hone writes, "There's always been love during the pain of our bereavement. Bereavement is about love after all. The love you had for another person, the love you have for them still. The great thing about love, of course, its evolutionary purpose, is that it connects us to others. Feeling love prompts us to reach out, to include others, to look beyond ourselves. Love broadens us and builds our social resources. When the worst happens, it's our social networks and resources that we rely on. In the face of Abby's death, I have vowed to love more." As I was preparing the sermon this week and reading through Hone's book, I got an email from the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute reminding me that it was time to sign up for their annual fundraiser, the Mother's Day Walk for Peace. For going on, I think, 10 years or so, a team from First Parish has joined in this walk, and many of us, others of us, have sponsored our team with donations. The Peace Institute was founded by Tina Cherry following the murder of her son, Louis Brown, in 1993, as he was on his way home from church one evening. Not wanting another parent, child, sibling, or friend to go through such a violent loss and terrible grief alone and unsupported, Tina Cherry created the Peace Institute as a place to provide support and resources to grieving families, and also to teach the skills and practices of peace and nonviolence to the community, to children and youth, to teachers and schools, and to the police and first responders. She created it also to help those who had committed violent offenses to integrate back into the community. All of the Institute's work is centered around fostering practices around 7 principles of peace: faith, courage, hope, justice, forgiveness, love, and unity. While not exactly the same as Hone's practices of positive emotions, I see overlap. These practices also seek connection with something larger than ourselves in terms of human community and spirituality. And yes, we are planning to organize a team for this year's walk, and Susan Woodmansey has graciously agreed to do so, so look out for more information. So what I learned from Lucy Hone and from Tina Cherry is that resilience is not about being strong or tough or invulnerable. Quite the opposite. Resilience actually begins with compassion. It begins with nurturing compassion for ourselves and for others, one another. It begins by making room to be vulnerable, to listen to our own hearts and souls and to each other's, to have a place to share our stories and be heard while also listening to other stories, not fixing, not changing, not correcting, not advising, not letting anxiety interrupt or dismiss what is being shared. Just listening, being present. This is the heart of Can We Talk, the trauma recovery ministry that was started by Reverend Liz Walker at the Roxbury Presbyterian Church, and which we are replicating. We're on a team, some of us from First Parish are replicating under the leadership of Reverend Janine Daly and the New Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Lowell. The goal? To foster connection and empower individuals to take active roles in helping themselves and others heal. In other words, to create a community that nurtures recovery and resilience. Jan Richardson is right. The world is always ending somewhere. All of us will experience these endings if we haven't already. And even if we have, we will again. The thing about a world ending, about grief and trauma, is that it can break trust. Everything we thought we knew, everything we thought we could count on, the life we thought we were leading is suddenly over and called into question. The ending of a world is isolating and lonely and disorienting. No wonder there's so much anxiety out there and in here. The practices of resilience, I think, are about reestablishing trust, reestablishing belonging to life, to community, to love again. We can never replace the person, we can never replace the dream, we can never replace the life that was before. But we can create a sacred space for these endings to be witnessed and heard and held, and to gently wrap a blessing around that through the work of our hands, the words of our prayers, the attention of our hearts. We can create a sacred space so that after the rending wind and the earthquake and the fire have passed, the still small voice can be heard. Thank you. I was at a workshop yesterday on this topic of building resilience, actually. And they were talking about things that help a group when there's a lot of anxiety, and one of them was singing together to help bring things down. I was like, oh. But unfortunately, we'll get there. We'll be able to sing together soon. But the other thing they said is that breathing together or rocking or rubbing your belly. So just know that those things are available to you. Your own belly, not your neighbor's. So I'd like to invite us in to that space where if we can't join our voices in singing, we can join our breathing, our deep breaths and centering breaths. We can join bringing our sources of being from all the different places we know and understand them, whether our source of being we find in ourselves, in the presence and company of one another, in the wonder and beauty and mystery of the creation, or in the embrace of the divine spirit. As we bring our breath and our source of being together, I invite us to hold these joys and sorrows. Mickey O'Connor asks that we keep her daughter Linda in our thoughts and prayers. She had a liver transplant about 7 years ago and has been hospitalized several times for complications. And this time, her liver functions have been down approximately for the last 3 months, and they can't figure out the cause. And so they're trying to change different meds, but it's a hard time. And Lynn and Walter Cole are pleased to announce that Erica Cole Harms gave birth to a baby boy Saturday, Oscar Benjamin Cole Harms, Lynn and Walter's third grandson. So they wanted us to know that. So as we hold this Mickey's concern and Lynn and Walter's joy, as well as the joys and sorrows unspoken of those of us gathered here, and those in our larger world, and all that is being endured in Ukraine and other places where there is war and violence. And also all the places where new life is entering the world. All the places where a world has ended. All the places where a world begins again. Spirit of life and love, we hold the joys and sorrows, the endings and the beginnings, in our thoughts and in our prayers. and in hope and faith that we can do better. Amen, and blessed be.
I will give thanks unto thee, O Lord, with my whole heart. I will give thanks unto thee, O Lord, with my whole heart. In before the gods will I sing praise unto thee. In before the gods will I sing praise unto thee. I will give thanks unto thee, O Lord, with my whole heart. I will give thanks unto thee, O Lord, with my whole heart. In before the gods will I sing praise unto thee. In before the gods will I sing praise unto thee.
Thank you, choir. Some of you were here. Just a brief reminder that after the service, I'm going to just head downstairs and greet people there. And if you could follow, I invite you to follow so that our ushers and tech folks and everybody can clean up the sanctuary when we're done. But I'd like to send us forth back into the world with the wise words of Christopher Robin to his best friend, Pooh. When Christopher Robin and Pooh were going to have to be separated, as Christopher Robin had to go to school. He said, "Remember, you are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. But the most important thing even if we're apart, I'll always be with you. Will always be with you."